Today, we're diving into a real medical mystery, the strange and confusing story of cholesterol. For decades, we've been told it's public enemy number one in our diets. But as we're about to see, the real story is way more complicated, and frankly, a lot more interesting.
So I want to kick things off with a pretty bold question. What if the main story we've all been told about heart health for the last, 70 years was just plain wrong? That's not just for dramatic effect. That's the central puzzle we're going to try and piece together today. You see, our story doesn't start in a research lab. It starts with this single, incredibly public event that sent a wave of panic across America and basically launched a 70-year war on one single molecule. It's kind of wild when you think about how fast this all happened. Back in 1955, President Eisenhower has a massive heart attack. Now, before this, most people just thought heart disease was, a part of getting old. But when it happens to a beloved war hero president, the public freaks out. They want answers, and they want a simple villain to blame. And the scientific world was ready to give them one: cholesterol. So this national panic creates a vacuum, right? And two powerful, very confident scientists rushed in to fill that void. And their epic feud would go on to shape everything we thought we knew about food for the rest of the century. So let's meet our two main suspects. On one side, you've got the very charismatic American scientist Ancel Keys. His theory was simple, and it just made sense. You eat fat, especially saturated fat, and it clogs up your arteries like grease in a kitchen pipe. Easy to picture, right? But on the other side, a British professor named John Yudkin was pointing his fingers somewhere else entirely. He said the real bad guy was sugar, that it was causing all this inflammation and chaos inside our bodies. And listen, this wasn't some polite academic back and forth. Keys was relentless. He didn't just disagree with Yudkin's sugar theory, he absolutely trashed it in public, calling it a mountain of nonsense. And that kind of aggressive campaign pretty much guaranteed that one idea would become dogma, while the other was all but forgotten. And Keys had what looked like the ultimate proof, his famous 7-country study. When he presented the data, it showed this beautiful, perfect curve. The more fat a country's population ate, the more heart disease they had. It looked so clean, so elegant. I mean, case closed, right? Well, not so fast. Here's the first big twist in our mystery. Keys didn't just have data from 7 countries. He had data from 22. And when you actually plot all 22 countries on the graph, that perfect curve, it just vanishes. It becomes a scattered mess of dots that shows, absolutely no connection at all. By cherry-picking the countries that fit his idea, he made it look like a sure thing. The full story was something else entirely. So you're starting to see a pattern here, right? Any evidence that didn't fit this neat little fat is the enemy story was either ignored or, in some cases, literally buried. So let's go ahead and dig up some of the clues that were left behind. Okay, get this. Take the Maasai people in Africa. According to the official theory, their diet should have been a death sentence. We're talking almost entirely animal products: milk, meat, even blood, just loaded with saturated fat. But when researchers actually went and studied them, they found the exact opposite. They had incredibly low cholesterol levels and basically zero heart disease. How is that even possible? It was a complete paradox. All right, so you might be thinking, okay, that's just one population, maybe they're an outlier. Fine. So what about a huge controlled experiment right here in the US? The Minnesota coronary experiment was designed to be the final word. The plan was simple: take thousands of people, get them to swap out their animal fats for supposedly heart-healthy vegetable oils, and prove that this simple change saves lives. And here's the thing, the first part of the study worked perfectly. The group eating all the vegetable oil, their cholesterol levels dropped, just like they were supposed to. This should have been a massive victory for the fat heart theory. But the full results, the part about who actually lived or died, were never published. They were hidden away for 40 years. And you have to ask yourself, why would anyone bury good news? This is why. When researchers finally unearthed that data decades later, the results were just shocking. For every 30-point drop in cholesterol a person had, their risk of death actually increased by 22%. Let that sink in for a second. The group that successfully lowered their cholesterol was more likely to die. The data showed the exact polar opposite of what everyone expected. So you have all this buried evidence popping up,
plus these real-world paradoxes, and it's forced the scientific community to completely rethink cholesterol's role. And a very tragic, very public case from our own time really highlights the flaws in that old way of thinking.
Let's talk about the news anchor Tim Russert. By all the old rules, he was a model patient. He was taking a statin drug, his total cholesterol was in the normal range, and his LDL, the bad cholesterol, was a shockingly low 68. He should have been completely protected from a heart attack, and yet he died suddenly from one in 2008. His case is a heartbreaking example that just driving that number down is not the magic bullet we all thought it was.
So if cholesterol isn't the main villain, then what on earth is it? Well, the new way of thinking completely flips the script. Forget the image of artery clogging gunk. Cholesterol is actually a vital repair substance. It's essential for our brain and our hormones. Your body makes it on purpose and sends it out like a crew of paramedics to patch up arteries that are damaged and inflamed.
And honestly, this is the single best way to understand it. Blaming cholesterol for heart disease is like showing up to a house fire and blaming the firefighters. Of course, they're at the scene of the disaster, but they're there to fix the problem, not cause it. The real question we should have been asking all along is, what's starting the fire in the first place?
And it gets even more fascinating. We now know that even LDL, that bad cholesterol, isn't just one thing. Think of it like this. Some of your LDL particles are like big fluffy beach balls. They're mostly harmless. They just bounce off your artery walls. But some of them are like small, dense golf balls. And those are the ones that can actually get into the artery wall and cause damage and inflammation. The takeaway? The type of cholesterol you have matters way more than the total number. Okay, so what in the world do we do with all this information? It means we need to stop obsessing over one single number and start looking at a much bigger, more complete picture of our health. So here's what the new, more sophisticated dashboard looks like. First, you want high HDL, your good cholesterol. That's a great sign. Second, and this is a big one, you want low triglycerides. This number is a fantastic indicator of how your body is handling sugar and carbs. And finally, if you can, you want to know your LDL particle size. Do you have the harmless beach balls or the dangerous golf balls? This combination of markers gives a far more accurate picture of your risk than a single cholesterol number ever could. And that leaves us with one last big idea to think about. The next time you see a cholesterol number and someone tells you it's high, maybe the first question shouldn't just be, how do I lower it? Maybe the real question is, wait, why is it high? Is my body responding to something? Is my cholesterol just trying to do its vital repair job? Thinking about it that way, well, that changes everything.